What you're going to see here is the original ending of Little Shop of Horrors as Howard Ashman originally wrote it and intended it to be, which mirrored the original ending of the off-Broadway show. And it was this original ending that we had to take out in the previews because the audiences were upset that the plant won and our leads, played by Ellen Green and Rick Moranis, died at the end. We had to shoot a whole new ending, go back to London, shoot a whole new ending, and make it a happier ending. But all along, Howard and I were hoping at some point people could see this ending. We didn't think it had ever happened.
Oh, relax, darling, it'll be easier. Come join your dentist friend and mushnik. They're right inside.
Howard and I had a talk with David Geffen early on, and I wanted to support Howard's vision of the original, which was the plant won, and the two leads died, and the plant won over the world. And David is the one who said it wouldn't work. But he respected Howard's opinion and mine that we both wanted to be true to the play. So David is the one who knew ahead of time, but he allowed us to go forward and supported it. Howard wrote at the end kind of a B movie, which I loved. I loved shooting that, where the aliens come and the army tries to kill them and the aliens take over the world. And with my storyboard artist, Mike Plug, who was brilliant, we devised all the visuals. The visuals were written like that. I mean, there's individual scenes with what the plant does, blowing and then exploding everything. So, you know, I thought of that, and I thought of the subway train going in the mouth. So Howard wrote it, but I just had to visualize it differently to make it more movie-like.
We started with storyboards, and from those storyboards, we worked out what kind of scale we needed to do each shot, bearing in mind the restrictions of the stages and also the restrictions of the model plant. We wanted to film all this stuff at anything up to 5 times speed. So we had to make mechanics of the plant, had to move incredibly fast, physically in front of the camera. So that gave us a certain amount of scale. Then from that scale, we worked the scale of the buildings and what they had to do.
There's a lot of planning for that. It had to be very well planned for Richard, because Richard was building these models. If all of a sudden I had an idea and said, hey, Richard, you know, why don't we do this with the Empire State Building? He'd say, Frank, that's like 2 months of work. I can't have that ready. So we had to have that all ready so he knew what he was doing. It was just, couldn't do it on the fly.
But we had several models to do different things. For instance, when they were walking along streets, they were rigged onto little tracks. When they were sitting on the Brooklyn Bridge, they had to be rigged in a completely different way. And the basic head movements and things were all hydraulic. They were a particular type of hydraulic that was transferred to manual movement. It wasn't electronic or anything, but if you move your hand, it's very much like the way the animatronics people work, which was just cable, except we transferred cable into hydraulic fluid, so we could make it miniaturize it quite a lot. And I think it was enormously successful.
The great thing about this, what Richard did, and we did in the whole movie too, there's no digital work at all. This is all real. And as a matter of fact, there were 2 opticals in the whole movie, which means that everything else was live. Everything in the plant was completely live, on the floor. Everything Richard did with the effects were right there, made by hand, and then shot in a masterly way that made it look like plants coming down the street. It was stunning, you know, it was stunning.
We went for a perfection. I don't know how it stands up nowadays, but we thought we reached a pretty high standard of perfection. It was never easy. When your work is occupying a full screen, everything has to be attended to, every detail. There's nothing in that picture. There's nothing in that creation in front of the thing you can give less attention to.
And I remember the very first preview in San Jose, we sat through it, and after musical numbers, people were applauding. They were loving the piece. It was great. It was just fabulous. Until the plant ate Audrey. And all of a sudden, the last 15 minutes when the plant ate them and the plant was taking over the world, it was like a deep freeze. It was just like the audience kind of hit a wall and couldn't believe that these people they loved are dead. I learned a great deal, One thing I learned was the power of the close-up, because you see the subtleties of characters and you can sense the feelings inside. And the power of that close-up makes you care more, as opposed to a wide shot where you can kind of look at everything on the theater. So what we did is we had these two leads and we killed them, and the audience hated us for it because they loved those characters. And the other thing is, I learned, when you're in the theater and you kill somebody, they come out for a bow. In movies, you kill somebody and they're dead. And you can't express how much you appreciate those characters. They're dead. They wouldn't release it that way. They couldn't release it. I knew the cards were not going to be good, but only 13% of the audience would recommend this thing because of the ending. So, Howard and I knew what to do. Howard came back. We both knew what to do. We created a happy ending.
Oh, shit!
It's not the ending we wanted, but we also weren't making the movie for two people. We were making the movie for a lot of people, and Warner's put a tremendous amount of money in this, and we had a great responsibility to David, who turned out to be right. We went back to London and reshot it, where Rick Moranis' character wins, and it's a happy ending with the two of them. I had to make that terrible phone call to Richard saying, we can't use your stuff. It was a terrible phone call.
I just couldn't believe that I just really couldn't believe that they changed it, because it's essentially a story. It's a dark story. It's a dark ending, but it's dark with tongue in cheek, isn't it? To be honest, it was so disappointing to me. I went into denial mode. And decided I was just going to forget it as quick as possible.
We had to excise everything that got us to the point of killing leads, and we had to have a moment in the movie where things went differently. Because in the old version, she says yes, no, and then she lies there and starts dying, and she sings a reprise of Somewhere That's Green, and then she dies, and he carries her and feeds her to the plant. In the new version, she says yes, no,
Audrey?
and the next cut starts the new version.
I'm sorry, Audrey. I'm just so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I never meant to hurt anybody.
And then we turn Rick Seymour's character into a hero. And we were both never satisfied with the original ending. But we were satisfied that we did the job that was necessary in order to release the movie to make the movie work for the audience at that time who wanted a happy ending. One of the things about the ending that Warner's recovered was the sound effects. I mean, they recreated sounds that I didn't have on the movie. And that's huge, what they did. And I wish people could see it on the big screen and hear it, because that's the sound department there did a fantastic job, and really sells the ending. So we saw it on the big screen, and I just thought, guys, you did a magnificent job. It was fantastic. Yeah, I was just thrilled. I remember most being in the trenches with the people and doing good work with them. Working really hard and taking big chances and coming out feeling satisfied of our work. It's not just me, it's everybody else. Working together with talented people to do something that I saw in my head, and they helped me bring it to life.
So many people who worked on it tell me that it was the best thing they ever did or ever saw. So that's it'll be very interesting to see. Very interesting to see, all in camera. I'll be very proud if this is popular.
I was over the moon for Richard. I was thrilled for Richard that his work could finally be seen. I mean, it's a terrible thing to work your heart out for so long, and then, whoop, not going to use it. It's terrible. At the end of the day, the joy here is that not only does the audience see what was intended in the beginning, but also see the work of Richard Conway. And now he gets to finally get his due, and he deserves it.